Welcome to tonight's episode of the
Okay,
group.
do I need to
Yep. Should be
hang
here.
on a second?
Okay.
Can you click on this because I can't see it?
What do you, oh,
Okay, we good? There we
all
go.
right. We're ready to go. Welcome to today's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Today we have horror host Rob Graves. Rob, tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, I don't mean to correct you, but Rob Graves is my Facebook name.
Okay, sorry.
Because they won't allow me to use gruesome.
Oh, okay.
They said that's not a proper name. I thought, well, I've seen some others on here that don't fit, but I guess that's okay. So Facebook Rob, the horror host is Gruesome Graves. So
Gruesome Graves.
just to let you know.
All right, thank you. I am educated on that now. Now, where are you out of?
I am out of Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Fort
which is
Wayne.
northeast Indiana, close to the Michigan and Ohio line.
Yeah, I've spent many a day in Fort Wayne.
I'm sorry.
We used to go for the Alliance Gaming Summits over there so I was always at the convention center. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Familiar with that.
There's a across the street is I want to say Champs restaurant, sports bar.
Rallies. Oh, Champs. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I'll
Yes.
tell you what, their food's kind of expensive, but it has one of the best. Like if you go get loaded French fries, they bring you a plate of loaded French fries. And then I eat too much of those. So, but
I'm gonna have to try that.
I don't know if they're still there though. I think one of the restaurants we used to go to downtown Fort Wayne was like literally we got there like the last like 2 days before it closed. So I'm hoping that that's not it. We haven't been
That
there.
sounds real familiar though.
Yeah, we haven't been there since the pandemic, and they shut all that stuff down, so we haven't been back to Fort Wayne really since. But yeah, we were there every year, at least once a year. So, I'll get off of this here. You do a horror host show out of Fort Wayne. Is it and tell us the name of your show?
The show is called The Haunted Hotel. We're on 3 times a week. Friday night is our main show at 10 p.m. Then we have one Tuesday night at midnight, which follows a friend of ours named Don O'Malley, Don's Breakfast Cereal Show. Don't know if you're familiar with him or not.
Yep.
And then Saturday, we are on at 1 p.m. and we are following 2 serial shows on that. The first is Serials with Count Dracula. And then my editor has her own show called the Saturday Morning Serials. And then I come on after them at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. I do Saturday morning serials too. Just different Saturday morning serials, I guess.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah. It's how long have you been hosting?
This is our 10th year. Halloween will be our 10-year anniversary.
Oh, cool. It's nice, and I've said this with every horror host, and I'll say it again because I believe it. I grew up. Our local horror host was Dr. Creep. He was, I watched him every afternoon and or every Saturday, loved it. And when that kind of disappeared, I thought horror hosts had kind of disappeared, and then I found out that there was this big renaissance of horror hosts out there. They were all over on YouTube, and then there's all these channels like the Monster Channel and Vortex and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow. And then I ended up getting to meet some a few years back at a Horror Hound celebration, and that was really kind of something I did not expect to be getting that big again. And I have to say, thank you for helping keep it alive. It's something I've loved since I was a kid, and it's something I still love to this day. So,
Oh, I know how you feel. This is a 10-year-old dream for me. I started off with local horror hosts here, two in Fort Wayne, one out of South Bend. I'd heard about Sammy Terry in Indianapolis. Unfortunately, at that time, we didn't have cable.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet, so everything was just word of mouth. I never really got to see him in his prime, but I've done a lot of YouTube videos watching him. Talked to others who knew him and were enjoying things with him, and I'm just trying to pay it forward and hopefully inspire the next group of monster kids. I grew up in the 50s or the 60s and 70s, and horror was just becoming a second time around. A lot of the Universal films were being shown on television for the first time.
Yeah.
And then we had Hammer came in with their films.
Yep.
And their big thing was color, and you saw the red blood and everything. It's a very, very enjoyable time. Collected monster comics, monster trading cards, read the Bible of Monster Kids, famous monsters of filmland religiously, and just fell in love with the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's been really enjoyable.
I was lucky enough years ago. I got to meet Forey Ackerman at
That's so wonderful.
at Dragon Con.
I always wanted to.
I just got lucky. I was doing a public access show at the time, so I had a press pass, and we were in the green room, I guess. And he comes in, and we're all sitting there eating, and all of a sudden I look over, and there's just Forey Ackerman, and he's just telling all these stories to anybody who will listen, and we're just like, oh, this is so awesome. And it's not connected to the convention, just him talking to just, the like managers and the other guests and the press people. And the only problem is that we were in the press room and we weren't allowed to record in the green room. So I just sat there and was like, all right, whatever. This is going to be something for me and my,
Oh, I heard he was so fan friendly.
Oh, he
if you called him on his home phone,
yep,
and said, I'm a monster kid, I'd like to see the Hacker Mansion, and he just said, come on over.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully the number was Moon Fan, which I was told by a disc jockey that knew him a long time ago. And said he loves to just talk monsters. I said, "Oh, that's my kind of guy."
Oh yeah, the fact that you see all these people that have done interviews with him, and they're just going all around his house, and it's just jam packed full, and you're just like, and he's just okay. This is where the spaceship from War of the Worlds. This is Bela Lugosi's ring. This is it was incredible. I grew up a little bit later. I still was a Famous Monsters kid, but I was also a Fangoria kid, and then I love my monster comics. And I didn't get the first batch of like the Tales from the Crypt. I got the reprints and whatnot.
Yeah, I've got the whole set of those three in hardback. Wonderful stories.
Oh yeah, I was just reading some last night. From I have like the big thick, the big oversized volumes. So those are great. Now, you said you were a fan of Sam. You didn't find out about Sammy Terry until after. Now, did you have the horror host that inspired you?
Yes, there were. Like I said, there were three of them that around this area. The one was called Asmodeus. He was a vampire. And he had Shock Theater and Psycho Cinema. And after he was gone, we had The Shroud, who was on Nightmare Theater. And luckily, I was able to meet both of them and talk to them. The Shroud even took some of my Aurora monster models and used them on his show. And he gave me screen credit for that. And wish I could have gotten those back because I'd like to use them in mine. That was fun. And then the other host, which nobody seems to know about, Clara Cackle and her Creepy Cauldron. And that was out of South Bend. And she was more of a pun-driven sort of show, always making jokes, something to go like, "Oh, I think I'm going bats," and like that. Where Asmodeus and the Shroud were more in a serious vein,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of gravitated towards that because that was my one of the first dealings with them. I really enjoy these movies, and I don't really like seeing made fun of per se because they meant a lot to me growing up.
Oh yeah.
So my persona is more on the serious side, but we do have some comedy going on once in a while. It's funny how since I started doing this, realized the connection between horror and comedy,
Oh yeah.
and the two go pretty well together. I mean, look at Abbott and Costello.
Oh yeah.
Great movies.
Oh yeah.
Great movies. Getting all the classic monsters in. And
Yeah.
not so much to make fun of them, but more or less to honor them.
Well,
And that's what I like doing.
the Abbott and Costello, because I just rewatched Abbott and Costello, Meet Frankenstein, The Mummy, and Jekyll and Hyde recently. And I mean, legitimately, the Frankenstein, that's a direct sequel essentially to the existing mythos to that. It wasn't like they just added the monsters to the Abbott and Costello. They added Abbott and Costello to the monsters. So
The funny thing about that, too, is that Bela Lugosi, this was only the second time he played a character that he was most famous for.
Yep.
And that was Dracula. He did it in 1933, and then he came back for this.
Yep.
And we've had others, John Carradine and the like, but he's most associated with that role, and it's funny to say he only played it twice.
Yeah. It's I had a thing I posted a while back, and I was going, who was a better Dracula, and I put Bela Lugosi or Christopher Lee, and I got so many people upset on that one because I love Bela Lugosi, but I'm a Christopher Lee fan. I mean, I joke around. I'm Christopher Lee. My name's Paul Christopher Lee. That's my legitimate real name. And
that's cool.
And it wasn't because my mom, thought I was this close to being Christopher Lee. I was in Christopher Paul Lee instead of Paul Christopher. And so I always bonded with that whole fact that Christopher Lee, he's the Dracula I grew up on. He's the Mummy I grew up on. He's he's the Bond. He was in everything when I was younger, and then he became Count Dooku, and then he became in Lord of the Rings, and so I have a huge soft spot for Christopher Lee over Bela Lugosi, and that upsets people horribly because they're like, you can't say that. I'm like, it's my opinion. I can't help it.
Oh, sure. You can say you have one favorite over the other.
Yep.
Like to me, Bela Lugosi will always be Dracula, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy Christopher Lee's performance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he did so many more of them than Bela did. To me, Bela is the quintessential Dracula because, like you said, that's who I grew up with.
Yep.
I kind of look at it as like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Doctor? 9 times out of 10, it's the first one you see.
Definitely. I'm a Tom Baker fan. That's who I grew up on. So, Yep. But one of my animals is back here making noises.
That's okay. I got one stalking around here too. So
I got the two dogs. I got my little dog snoring behind me. There's 2 cats somewhere, and then the dog, my wife's dog's upstairs, but she's running around. So, well, you were talking about the host that you that inspired you. The only 2 that I knew from over in Fort Wayne was Cemetery and the Shroud. I didn't know about the other 2. Now I got to find out about these other ones, so I'm going to have to go look them up.
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize because I remember watching the Shroud on late night television in on some channel out of Fort Wayne that I used to pick up on the antenna.
WFFT, channel 55.
55. I was going to say, I
Yes.
thought it was like 53 or something like that. And it's amazing that I'm almost 2 hours directly away from Fort Wayne. And on a good clear night, I lived out in the country. We had the big antenna on the roof of the house with and I would get occasionally, and I did not know that he was that hard to find until recently. Somebody goes, man, there's just no copies of any of his old stuff out there. So I'm like,
unfortunately not.
Yeah.
There's one little piece on YouTube with just his voice, and he's announcing one of his shows. Yet to find him, nothing on Asmodeus, and absolutely less than that for Clara Cackle.
I do my other show. I do the Saturday morning serials where I do Saturday morning cartoons, and I'm always on the lookout for. I'm like, hey, do you got VHS tapes? And you don't know what's on them. Did you record television shows in the 80s and in the late 70s and into the 90s? I was like, and I got people who just give them to me. Then I have to spend hours going through videotapes full of nothing but episodes of Desperate Housewives and Star Trek: The Next Generation. But I don't know what I'm going to find. I have a guy who's supposed to bring me, he has 80 VHS tapes of old Doctor Who that was recorded from television. And I'm like, I wonder if this is any of the stuff that was considered lost, so hopefully we'll find out, because he's just going to give them to me because he don't even have a VCR anymore.
You never know.
Yep. Because you never know. I'm going to risk it. And I have, I know I have some old episodes of like our Shock Theater floating around on VHS tapes and stuff like that. And my goal is that I want to get all this set up and have a place where I can just upload from VHS tape to the, so people can actually see this old stuff as I find it. So,
that'd be great.
Yeah. Now,
yeah, I've gone to both television stations here trying to find footage, and they look at me like, we have no idea who you're talking about.
Oh yeah, because like you said, it's up until Sammy Terry I've known of for quite a while. The Shroud maybe the last 10 years, and legitimately it was for me it was a guy showed me a signed picture that he got when he was in like Indiana, at like Indianapolis or something, at a car show or something back in the day. And he goes, yeah, this guy was a horror host. And I'm like, huh, okay. So I started trying to look into it, couldn't find him. Then another friend of mine brought it up, and I was like, okay, maybe there's more to this. So I started looking into more and more of it. And hopefully I think I might have something, but I don't know if I have a full episode or anything like that. So we'll find out.
That'd be nice. I wonder if that's the same picture I've got that he handed out. It was in one of the local cemeteries, and he signed his name and your name on top of it. Mm-hmm. That's one of my prized possessions right there.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, it's black and white, like 8x10. It's got him in a cemetery, and I believe it is signed. Same, the Shroud, and then it's got the guy's name, when he was a kid underneath it. So, now here's where we're going to get into the hard hitting questions. All right. Okay. I ask this to everybody. Money is no object. What movie are you showing on your show?
Oh boy. Yeah. You don't pull punches, do you? Wow. I'm going to have to ponder on that a little bit.
Okay.
There are a lot of good choices out there. I could say probably one of them I would like to do is the entire Night of the Living Dead series of George Romero's, beginning with the original Night, then his Dawn, and then Day. Yeah. Originally, he had made that as a trilogy. Mm-hmm. I would love to be able to do the other two.
Oh yeah, those are classics. I watch them at least once a year. I talked with a guy last night. I did an interview, and I was like, Night of the Living Dead is one of the movies that I've probably seen over 100 times, and I never get tired of it. I watch that constantly. I probably watch it 2 or 3 times a year to this day. So,
Oh, of course, yeah, it holds up so well.
oh yeah, definitely. Now, with your show, do you do your work yourself? Do you have a crew? You know, put everything together?
We have a crew. I call them my camera fiends. And then I have my editor and director. And basically, it's a family. Anybody can say, hey, try it this way, or that didn't sound right. Let's try this. What do you think of this? It's not just me, because without them behind me, I'd just be this goofy-looking guy standing there, and you're going, "What's this guy doing? Who cares? We're not worried about him." We do 6 shows at a time. I will go in and I will film my parts, opening, the middle, the ending, and then we will go back and edit them into the movie.
Yeah. Now, have you ever put together a movie where you found out that you couldn't air it after you've already filmed it?
So far, no. We've been pretty lucky with that.
Good. Yeah, it's there's always a lot of people. There's almost always one that people like. Oh, it says it's in public domain, but they immediately shut it down. So, with putting a show together, you say you're doing 6 episodes at a time.
Yes.
On that, yeah. You in for the weekend or?
Well, I will after we do our 6.
Yeah.
While we're editing those, I will have the next batch of movies ready to go. Have them typed out and hopefully memorized by the time we're ready to go again. There are several times that the time monster has caught up with us, and we've had to do a few reruns.
The time monster's been kicking my butt.
For the most part, I get in. Oh, he's greedy. I'll tell you.
Yes, he is.
He's always sneaking around.
It's amazing. Now you're doing 6. You said you shoot all 6 your parts for the 6 movies, then you have somebody editing them, and then by the time that following week is up, then you got the next 6 ready to go.
If everything goes right, yes.
Wow. I've talked to other ones and they're like, man, we're lucky to get an episode in a week. I thought I was putting in a lot of work. I do. This week's been busy. This week's been crazy. Not gonna lie. 4 interviews this week plus my 2 shows. So I'm like, go. But then there's weeks where I just do my 2 shows and I have a whole bunch of interviews already in the can that I can just, because I drop them every Monday. I don't have to hurry up and try to push them out. But the weekly show, I have to sit there and go through episodes, watch those, then put my little bits and pieces into it, edit that all together, which is what I did last night and tonight. But I'm doing it all by myself. So, but phew, the 6 shows, man, that's a lot of shows. What about?
It's crazy sometimes.
I'm a little flabbergasted. That's a lot. What's the favorite movie that you've done so far?
Oh boy. Probably one of my all-time favorites is The Phantom of the Opera. I love finding silence that we can do, because I don't want these films to be lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like London After Midnight. We'll probably never see a full copy of that ever again. And the older films I like to do and try to inspire, like I said, the new generation of monster kids and hosts, and try to pass on my passion for these to them as well.
Yeah.
We just did Nosferatu a couple weeks ago, celebrating its 100th anniversary.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just watched the Joe Bob one too, and horror's 100 years old. We did with what Cabinet of Dr. Caligari was supposed
Oh,
to be the
wonderful.
first full length theatrical horror movie. That was what, 2 years ago. It's crazy, but they were putting out horror movies.
What's fun is you can take.
Good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're right. You're
What's
right.
fun to do, you take 10 different hosts, give them the same movie, and you'll have 10 different versions.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
that's what's so great about this hosting family.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got their own ideas how to present it.
Mm-hmm.
And go for it this way, go for it that way, but it's all entertainment. Let's make the fans happy. Let's show what we can show and not worry about, okay, is he doing the same thing I am? Or what are they doing? How come they're doing it this way? Just let it go and have fun.
Oh yeah, it's with especially unfortunately with doing public access or public domain movies, you have a finite pool of movies to which to draw from, and occasionally you might get one new one or one that pops that falls in, but everybody does your Night of the Living Dead, um, Scars of Dracula. Or not Scars of Dracula, Satanic Rites of Dracula. There's always one, but everybody does it differently. Everybody does it, and everybody has fun doing each and every one of them. And it's
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. And I've sat down a while. Was it last Halloween, I believe? And I was watching different horror hosts. I watched like four different host versions of Night of the Living Dead. So, and every one of them was completely different. One of them was funny. One of them was really serious. One of them gave us like all the information about the movie, about all this stuff, and it was informative. And then the other one was a mix of the two, but none of them were the same, and I love that. So, now, did you? Here's another one of the hard hitting questions. When you came up with your character, did you just boom, you had him right out of the chute, or did he evolve and become to where he is now?
Basically, he evolved. What started, I met Penny Dreadful and Guru at my first Monster Bash.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to them. I said, I don't have a local host anymore. I did have Elvira on syndication, but we didn't have it anymore. And Guru said, that's okay. We'll come home with you. Okay, sounds good to me. We talked for a couple of hours. They both knew about the shroud. They didn't know about the other two, but they knew about the shroud.
Mm-hmm.
And after we're done talking, I'm going back to my room, and in the back of my head, the little 10-year-old voice is saying, there's somebody you can ask how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had nothing in the media, knew no one, no idea what's going on. So I thought, okay, I got home, I emailed her. I said, can you give me some advice on how to start my own character and my own show?
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, I'll maybe hear something back. The next day, I got this beautiful letter back from her and saying how she really enjoyed our talk and enjoyed meeting me. And she was so happy that I wanted to continue on. And Guru was mad because he didn't come home with me. From there, she gave me advice. We would talk back and forth a couple of times. Said, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? That kind of looks good. Why don't you do this? It took probably about a month or so. I came up with the idea, came up with the character, came up with the premise for why he's doing what he's doing. She told me, she said, just don't put on a scary mask and stand in front of a camera and say, here's Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Have a reason for what you're doing. And I put it together, and she said, that looks good. And I went down to my public access TV station, told them what I wanted to do, and they were enthusiastic from day one. They Joe, we want to do.
Yeah.
What can we do for you? And I said, tell me how to do it. They've just been wonderful the entire time. Just helpful. If I've got questions, they've got the answers.
Now, this is the answer I've got almost from everybody. How much of you is your character?
Good 70%.
70?
Yeah, I've got a head full of useless knowledge that I finally get to do something with. I love trivia. I love behind the scenes. And like I said, classic horror for me is where it's at. The new stuff, I'm not that big a fan of. The slasher movies don't really appeal to me. Mm-hmm. They do to other people, and that's great. So go for it. Enjoy it. I'm glad you do. I said, my cup of tea is over here. Mm-hmm. But we can still discuss both of them. Mm-hmm. Don't have a problem. Gore, just for gore, to me, is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I love The Walking Dead. They've got some of the best makeup artists and special effects. But it moves the story. It's not just, let's see how bloody and gory we can get. It moves the story along.
Yep.
That's what I miss with a lot of the newer stuff. They don't build the suspense. They don't. You just come up one scare after another. Boom, 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 boom. You have to have the highs and lows in that. Build the suspense. Sometimes we didn't even see the monster until about 10, 15 minutes at the end of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's building up the excitement. That's building up the terror, waiting for that monster to finally show up.
Oh, yeah. I just rewatched, oh, man, why am I drawing a blank on it now? It's a black and white. There's the demon in it. The demon is invisible through most of the movie. They kill it on the train tracks at the end where it's visible.
Oh, Curse of the Demon. Curse of the Demon.
Yes. I was like, that monster,
or Night of the Demon.
Yeah.
Depending on which. Yeah.
Shows up the last, 5 minutes of the movie. That's the only time you see the monster. That's great. You talk about creating your character, and it was a gradual, over like a month. That's pretty cool. I mean, I've talked to people who started out with one character and it evolved into almost a completely different character. And, I guess, has it changed while you're doing the show, or is it still pretty much the same?
I'm sure it's evolved somewhat. Especially if you see some of our earlier shows. Oh, good Lord. We've gained more confidence in ourselves, in our crew, and our abilities. We started off with just a brick background. And then when we got the green screen, we were able to bring more into that. And then I made a suggestion to my editor. Is there any way we can take the scene when Boris Karloff pulls a stake out of John Carradine's skeleton and Dracula becomes corporeal again? Mm-hmm. He said, let me see what we can do. And we came up with the opening we've got now, where the coffin opens and the skeleton, and there I come. I said, I just love that. He did such a good job.
That's very cool. I really like that. Well, it's funny, Horror Host, like I said, locally, we have a few public access ones here. Our public access channel in my little towns, I think it's gone. I don't think it exists anymore. Which is
that's too bad.
But I started out doing essentially this show in public access, and that's where I started meeting. That's where I met Dr. Creep, because his show was running before mine. So I was the follow-up to his show, and then his producer was the guy who ran the TV station, and and I became friends with him, and I would hang out with him. Then one day I come walking in, and I hear this laugh, and I walk up, and it's Dr. Creep, I don't want to give out his real name, but he's since passed. But you're just like, I was an adult, but man, I became a little kid again, and it was like,
Doesn't take much, does it?
yeah. And I was supposed to be editing, and I spent, I think, 6 hours just talking to Dr. Creep about everything, and it was so much fun. And it was the whole, I kind of grew up, and we kind of lost our horror host, and then suddenly there was the horror host I grew up on. He's right here, and he's talking to me, and it was a blast. And I remember one year he was doing a signing, and I know he loved Vampirella, and I just showed up and I just handed him a stack of Vampirella comics, and he's like, what do I owe you for? I was like, nothing. I was like, this is just a slight payment for all of the entertainment you brought me as a child. So
very cool.
Oh yeah. Now, do you ever get to work with any other horror host? Because I know a lot of them work together or do crossover episodes and stuff.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite episodes. We did a crossover. Are you familiar with Slash Cooper?
Yes.
Okay, Slash and I, we met on Facebook, and we became very good friends. Mm-hmm. And he and his, let me see, how does he put this? Half-brained, mail order monster bride, Foxy Roxy. They said, we want to get together. We want to do a show. Sounds great. What are we going to do? And we worked out what to do. And they showed up, and basically 90% of that show is all ad lib.
Oh, that's good.
We had a basic premise. That's about all we did. And then, okay, we'll kind of work on this a little bit, and see how this goes. I mean, we shot the thing, and it's like we'd been together for years.
Oh man!
And we just had a ball doing that. And hopefully, I'll be able to go down there and return the favor, because he's here in southern Indiana.
Yeah.
We just clicked. We just had a ball. We love what's going on, and just having a good time together. And that was one of the best shows we ever did.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because there is a lot of that crossover. A lot of people work together, even if they're not from the same area. They'll send a guy a clip and show up on a show, even as just like greetings and stuff like that. I've got talks with people to come on and do little bits and pieces on my show. And I'm like, I never thought in a million years anybody would want to show up on my show. and that's kind of what this one was too, is I've always loved horror hosts. So I was like looking for guests, and I just reached out to one. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then I was like, okay. So I reached out to another one and another one, and another one and another one. And I was like, and it was weirdly, I became that guy who interviewed horror hosts. And I'm like, okay, I do other people too, but horror hosts are one of my favorites. So I've done a lot of those.
That's a good choice.
Oh yeah. And I've interviewed people from, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Virginia, a lot of Tennessee, a few in Ohio, one all the way out in Las Vegas. And it's funny because it's everybody has a similar story, but with different characters. The supporting cast is slightly different, but the story is the same. It's like, I didn't realize how many horror hosts were in Indiana up until relatively recently. I knew that the lineage from going back to Sammy Terry and the Shroud, and but it's like, oh, okay, there's several people over there. Okay. And then I found all the ones in Pennsylvania, and then I found some of the ones in Tennessee is crazy with horror hosts. And I'm like, man, this is such a renaissance, such a fun time to be a horror movie guy.
And the internet is nice because it gives us a chance to see what other hosts are doing, mm-hmm. what their shows look like. And, I love finding all that stuff out. Our show, you can stream it live, or you can watch several of them on demand. Mm-hmm. Okay, wow, that's really cool. Before, we didn't have VCR, so we couldn't record what was going on, and you had to hopefully catch it at the right time. You know, okay, where's the TV guide? You had to look up the TV guide, which was easy for us. We had 3 channels.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, we had 5 by the time 55 came in. We had a PBS channel, the 3 ABC, NBC, CBS, and then 55 was independent.
Yep.
And when that came in, and they went to 24-hour, wow! I don't have to stand up for the flag at sermonette at 1 o'clock in the morning when the channel goes off and the little test pattern comes on.
Broadcasting day has ended for blah 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 channel. You know, I remember those days. Oh
yeah.
Yep. Well, you're. I don't know how old you are, but we sound like we're not that far apart. I was born in the 70s through the 80s, and but you know,
I was born in 59.
59. All right. Okay,
yeah,
you're close to my parents' age, so
63.
Yeah. It's funny trying to explain to people what independent channels were before. I was like, we had several of them here locally. I was like, they became like Fox affiliates and stuff like that later on.
That's what 55 did, yes.
Yep. It was just a random channel on, that you'd get just reruns of old shows and whatnot. But, if you were lucky, at night, you kind of got, cheesy movies or something from like midnight till like 4 in the morning. You got 2 movies, and then I would watch those and get in trouble for being up all night. So
that was another thing in South Bend. They didn't have a host, but they had the double creature feature. So Saturday night, beginning at 11 o'clock, 2 monster movies. And oh boy, I was loving that. When I wasn't at my grandparents' lake cottage, because they had the big antenna. When I was at home, like you were saying, the conditions were just right. You could take that little dial and tune it in.
Nope.
Find that channel. And said, okay. I said, look at all that snow. Why are you watching this? I can see it. I know what's going on.
I can see that. That's probably why I have to wear glasses now to read. We, I want to say 55, I think, was the channel that when I was in high school, like I said, I lived out in the country. At I think 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, they had wrestling, and it was just wrestling. It wasn't any organization. Some of it was old black and white stuff. Some of it was from Mexico, it was barely dubbed over, and is them little independent channels before they became affiliates for like Fox and stuff like that just showed whatever they could get their hands on. And
oh, that was great. Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I think it was 55. It was that or like channel 28 out of I can't remember what that one was at. That might have been out like Toledo or something. But yeah.
South Bend had a 28.
I don't know if we would have got any channels from South Bend. That's still pretty far away from me. But when you grew up, you were like you said, the monster kid and whatnot. Did you always hurry up, go buy, save up your money, get your Aurora models, or save your pennies and go get your famous monsters? Or did you have to decide, were you one of the ones that had to decide okay, I can go see this movie or I can buy a famous monsters? Because that's where I was when
I was more of the famous monsters and the models. We didn't get a lot of the movies. Just unfortunately, I think it was because we are known as the city of churches.
Yeah.
And in the Bible Belt kind of thing. Very rarely did we get anything like the Hammer films or anything like that. So a lot of it was, okay, yep, here we go. But the drive-in was great.
Oh,
because you have to double feature. You know, you got a Godzilla and maybe the Planet of the Apes, or even the real cheesy ones that would come through, like Brain of Blood, Vampire Eaters, those kind of things. Yeah, we ride our bikes over there and ride home because the one by me, it was only about like 8 or 9 blocks away. So, and back at that time, the parents said, "Yeah, get out of here. Here's a buck. Go."
Just be home before we go to bed, or if you go to bed, don't.
Yeah, pretty much.
I got lucky because my little hometown. I'm still in. I got away from it briefly, and I ended up back in it. We had an old, school 2-screen movie theater, but occasionally on Saturday afternoons, they would bring in something different. Like I remember watching around like the black and white King Kong there. I remember seeing I think Creature from the Black Lagoon. I remember seeing the Tingler, but it was just a little bit here and there. You might get like 2 or 3 a year if you're lucky. Then as I got older, then they're like, "Okay, it's Halloween. We're giving you 2 horror movies." I'm like, "Yes." Oh man, it's fun with the horror host and seeing all these really good ones. That's actually how I became a Saturday morning cartoon host, because I was talking to a friend of mine that's a producer for some horror hosts here in down in Dayton, and I told him, I was like, "Man, I think I want to be a horror host," and he's like, "Well, do it." And then I started watching all these other horror hosts, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not that good. I'm going to have to come up with something else." I was like, I need a whole different gimmick. I need, and he's like, "Well," and I was like, "Well, how do you know what you can and can't show?" And he goes, "Well, I guess it's always better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission." Most of the time, I'll just say, yeah, you're not making any money off of this. Just show it." So that's why people ask me, they're like, "How do your shows do so good?" I'm like, I just show what I want to show because I can't make any money. I'll never make a penny off my YouTube channel.
But you got the passion.
Oh yeah,
that's what it's about.
Yeah, you're on YouTube, correct? And where else?
Not on YouTube.
No, not on YouTube. Sorry.
I'm a Luddite. I do not know technology to save my butt. So, but basically, I'm on our public access, and we have, like I said, you can access us either live stream or see some of them on demand. And just recently, I've been invited to be on the Monster Channel, which I'm very honored for that.
Yeah.
I thought, whoa, I'm hitting the big time now. And, I'm looking at all these people that I'm associated with. Okay, I'm at the little kid table at Thanksgiving, but hey, I'm getting fed, so that's cool.
At least you're at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I've got an interview coming up with Halloween Jack sometime. We just got to nail it down. So, and we had a couple people tell me that he's interested. So we'll see how that goes with this show. So,
that man is just phenomenal for what he does.
Oh man,
how he pulls everything together and gets all the other hosts and things going. I don't know how he does it. My hat is off to him. Just
seeing what he does, and then seeing that he still does a show and he's doing conventions and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't have time to do what I do. How do you? But I mean, it's what one of the things I do like. I was going back to horror hosts here, but about horror hosts for the most part, is probably a good 75% of them are what we would say family friendly, I guess.
Yes,
and so I do. And I have a comic book shop, and I have my big TV that sits behind me, and a few times a week I will just find a horror host and just run a bunch of their shows on the TV behind me. And unfortunately, when they took the Monster Channel off Roku, I lost that, which is not fun.
No.
Yeah. So what I have to do is sometimes I can find them on YouTube. Sometimes I can find them streaming somewhere else, and I show them as much as I can. And it's funny because I get this whole new generation of kids that come in. I say kids because some of them are early 20s and whatnot, and they're like, "What are you watching?" I was like, I'm watching Gargoyles, and they're like, "What's that?" And why does this guy keep coming on here? I was like, "That's a horror host." And like, "A horror host? What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh no, sit down, children." It's like I got a story to tell. I'm the old man under the tree telling the kids the stories of the horror host. And
there you go.
And they're like, "That's kind of cool." And they're like, "Is this something?" I was like, No. I was like, "This is way back when." I was like, "And this is something I grew up on." And I let them sit, and they're like, I was like, "Oh, they're like, well, that one's pretty funny." And I'm like, "Yeah, but there's ones that take it really seriously. The ones that are the ones that will tell you this, like I said, tell you the behind the scenes, tell you about the making of the movie, blah blah blah." And then you got the ones who just kind of joke around and have fun throughout the entire episode. And I've turned a lot of people on, especially younger guys, a couple girls, onto the whole, I guess, lack of a better term, the genre of horror hosting. And they all come back and they're like, "Well, who else can I find?" And I'm like, "Okay." Well, I flip my screen around on my computer. I'm like, "You need to find this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this girl, this girl." And so,
Well, good for you. That's a wonderful thing to do.
yeah,
Hosting actually started on the radio. Is where it all began with shows like Lights Out, Inner Sanctum, and things like that. The Shadow was actually a horror host before he graduated to his own show. And we also do a radio program called Tales of the Macabre. When it's on WELT is our radio station. And when the gentleman that started it, he came to me and said, "Can you do the same thing on the radio as you're doing here? Maybe do like an interview program." Who the heck am I going to talk to here that has any idea what horror is? I may be able to get one or two people. I said, "Let me think about something." And a couple of days later, I came back and said, "How about if I do, like the movies, I take old horror and science fiction programs from radio's golden days, put a show together like that?" He said, "What do you think?" He said, "That's perfect. How soon can you get that together?" "Oh man, you don't want much, do you?" So, along with now doing 6 shows, I do 6 shows also for the radio program. But the easy part is I've only got an hour. So basically, I introduce them, say such and such is starring, and go from there. So a little less information, but still a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's
a lot of fun.
I discovered Inner Sanctum. I don't know, probably about 20 years ago. I was at our library, and they had this big book full of cassette tapes, and it was all these radio shows from Tarzan, Lone Ranger, The Shadow, and all these I knew, Superman. And then there's and I knew Twilight Zone started out essentially, or maybe not Twilight, but Rod Serling. And I'm like, "Oh, what are these?" And Inner Sanctum. And I was listening to it, and I was like, "Wow, I like this." And I found one, was it the something door? And I can't remember. I might be mistaken.
Sealed door?
Yeah, it was. They're like, and you can open up the door. It was like, and they were so good. And you're in your brain, you're reading all this stuff, and it sounds like all this stuff's going on, and you realize there's only like 3 people filming this entire show, just doing different voices. But what's your the movie that plays in your mind is bigger than any movie that you'll ever see on a screen. So same with monsters. The monster in your head is always worse than the monster you'll see on screen. So.
Oh, exactly.
No,
I like to call it the theater of the mind.
yes, theater of the mind. Oh, that's that man. So you do the 6 video shows a week, and then you do 6 audio shows a week.
No, they play once, once a week. So it's not like they play all together. So it's just once a week. But yeah, we do 6 movies and 6 radio.
Wow. Do you do them all on the same weekend or at the same time, or do you do them separately?
We have before, but we found out it's better if I come in and record for radio and then do television. That way I'm not crossing over. And I said, you do know Skippy the Wonder Dog is not in this, right? Oh, he was in the radio. Okay, never mind. Sometimes things get blurred together a little bit.
That's good. It's man. The town I lived in before I came here, they did they had classes that had that would teach you how to do radio shows. And if I would have had the time, I would have loved to have done it. But it like correspond with when days like I'm really busy at work, so I wasn't like I get away. But I would love to have been able to do something like that. I mean, now I've got all this set up and all this equipment here at my house that I could just do it at my house. But so you do it, and it's on your local radio station, like just
yes. You can find that also on the excuse me. You find that on air if you go to ACPL Allen County Public Library.org, and there's a button that says Explore. Click on that. It'll bring up Access 1, Access 2, which Access 2 is our TV station, is what we're on. And then you'll find WELT. You can click on that, and it'll take you right to the radio station. We're on at midnight on Friday night or Saturday morning. I can never get that right. Am I at night or am I in the morning? Well, no, it's just midnight to me.
Yep. if I've gone to bed, and if it's before I go to bed, it's at night. If I get up early, then it's morning.
There you go. Okay, I like that.
What was it? One of my favorite ones was, there's a 4:00 in the morning. I know if I stay up long enough, there's a 4:00 in the morning. But if you get up early enough, there's a 4:00 in the morning. Never again. That's one thing I'm glad I'm my own boss. I will never get up at 4:00 in the morning for nothing. So
well, good for you. I did that for 38 years before, so
I was mostly I got up at like 5 for years, but mostly I was a second, third shift guy, and I hated both of them. Although the last job I had where I was up all night, I would find the old radio programs online, and I'd burn them to CD, and I would take them to work, and I would listen to them while I was working, and it helped the night go by so much quicker when you're listening to old episodes of the Shadow or the Phantom or I want to say it was Forbidden Door, but I don't know. But yeah, I'd listen to those, and it would make the night go like that.
Yeah, it does help.
Oh man! Now, here's one of the other big, hard-hitting questions. What do you have to say for up and coming horror hosts who want some advice?
Well, let's see. Basically, what you need to do is watch as many horror hosts as you can. See what they do. Take the things you like. Don't use the things you don't like. But make it your own. Do your own personality. Like I said, I like to do more of the serious side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you like to be the Joker. Maybe you like to come in the middle of the film and make a silly statement or something like that. Whatever you do it from your heart and enjoy what you're doing. Don't make it something you have to force. As Penny told me, that if at all possible, use makeup. because then you can articulate what you're saying and people can understand you and it's not muffled. I said, what do I know about makeup? I don't know a darn thing about it. So going through a Party City store here in town, I came across this. That's doable. I could do that. Doesn't muffle the voice. It's hard to see, but other than that,
No.
and that way, I'm also paying tribute to the Shroud.
Mm-hmm.
This is something very similar. I just loved going to school. Hey, do you see the Shroud? Who is the Shroud? Who is this guy? This is so cool. I love the mystery and the fun behind that. Plus, also, this kept the guys at work from knowing who I was and giving me any more static than I already was getting from.
Oh yeah, it's that's kind of kicking me right now. I got people who are now coming into my store who didn't find me through my store, who didn't find me through comic book conventions or stuff. They found me through my show, and now they come in and it's my name that my fans on my show called me because I didn't have any gimmick name. I didn't have any. Literally, I did my Saturday morning serials. I came out with a bathrobe on. I act like it was early morning, even though I filmed at like midnight. So I guess it is early morning. And they started calling me Captain Cartoon. And so I was like, all right, well, I kind of like that. So we'll stick with that. And now I got people who come in the shop and they're like, what's up, Captain? And I'm like, hey, how's it going?
Oh, that's cool.
Something I was not ready for. And you said you had worked with somebody who knew you. Do you ever run into that where people figure out who you are out in public or anything?
Not really, no.
Really?
There are people that when they find out that, oh, I can't believe that's you doing that. How long you doing? Well, you started this doing it. How did you keep it a secret this long? Basically, I just don't come out and say, yeah, it's me.
Yep.
You got to try to figure things out. One day when I was younger and I was at our local mall and I walked into the record shop and there standing there behind the counter was Asmodeus.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Oh my. And I'm just kind of standing there standoffish, kind of looking. He looked over at me, smiled, said, hey, how you doing? Are you him? He said, yep, I am. Stuck his hand out, shook hands with me. And I was in heaven. I said, here, I met my idol. This is so cool. And just a nice, sweet guy. That there, smiling and everything. Of course, I'm too tongue-tied to ask him any kind of questions at all. And basically said, okay, thanks, see you later, bye.
One of the best things that I've noticed about horror hosts, especially right now, is it doesn't matter what in this day and age. It doesn't matter what your political views are. It doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're a horror host, other horror hosts just kind of openly accept you, and they're friendly. And it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
There's no. Anything, nothing. Everybody's so friendly amongst each other, and it's very heartwarming to see that because it's a lot of what we don't get in regular life. But your character and character over here, and it's it doesn't matter what you outside of your persona, but you can all come together. And it doesn't matter once the persona
leave real life behind. And just have a good time. I have met a lot of wonderful people. Some in person, mostly here on Facebook, and just had just such a great time. Gotten advice, given them advice. Said, hey, I saw what you did last night. That was really great. Really liked what you, and I try to watch their stuff as well. Say, hey, I really like what you were doing here. There are one or two that I've run into that for some reason don't like me. No names, not mentioned any names. That's okay, fine. You don't like what I'm doing, that's okay. You do your thing, I'll do my thing, and don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Well, it's the other day I got my first basically I don't want to say hate comment on YouTube, but somebody goes, "Man, I really like your show, but I could do without you. I'm like, and then I was like, I looked at my kid, I'm like, I made it. Somebody hates me on the internet." I was like, I don't know if that's how he wanted me to take that, but that's exactly how I'm going to take that.
Good for you.
Yeah, that somebody had to be, I had to affect them so much that they had to get online and type out, and it was a pretty lengthy letter, and I'm like, I did that.
I had a similar experience. Some lady just tore me a new one. She F-bombed me and everything. Well, wow, what's going on? And I went online and said, am I this bad? Have I done something to offend anyone? And the support I got back from host and non-host, and they said, what you're doing is great. Mm-hmm. The heck with her. Don't worry about what she did. I said, I want to make sure I didn't offend somebody. Because I was like, wow, well, what am I doing? My catchphrase, children of the grave. And she's going, there are people out there with dead children, and you're making fun of it. No, that's not what I'm doing. It's a show. Gallows humor is what the shows are about.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking, what did I do? And I know the moderator of that group came back and said, she's gone. We threw her out. He said, he apologized. I said, no, you don't need to apologize to me. That I don't hold you responsible. I said, I just was curious. Did I step over a line I didn't see? And like I said, it was just overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
Hosts and fans alike that said, no, what you're doing is great. Keep doing it.
Yeah. Because I posted a while back. I was like, oh, there are people who love me and there's people who hate me. And people were like, we all love you. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, it's I only ran into one really issue like this early on when I did public access. And this is 2002, I believe. It had to be 2001. I was I'm still a big comic book guy.
Me too.
But we did all the tribute issues, comics and stuff like that started coming out for to raise money for 9/11. And
yes.
So I started posting pictures during the show of those books that you could find, that you could buy them, you could find them, and it helps to go to a charity or whatever. And legitimately, like I said, I aired from, I think, 1:00 in the morning till my show was done, or like midnight to 1 or 1 to 2. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but this little old lady called up the TV station to complain about us because they thought it was in bad taste that we were promoting and trying to make money. Or at least I was trying to. I was like, I'm not trying to make money. I was like, I even said these are tribute books where the money goes to raise to get, for these funds. And I thought, oh man, this is only like my third or fourth show. And I'm like, I'm gonna get kicked off like that early. And my producer goes, don't worry about it. I got yelled at last night for showing a clip of Space Giants from. And I was like, why? And he goes, they knocked over a building. And I'm like, did anybody ever seen a kaiju movie? This is not new. And he goes, nah. He goes, it's the lady that does it. And I was like, we found out more about it later on. And it was this little lady who would call just to complain, to talk to people. And we're like, oh, okay, I'll let it slide. But it's still like, man, she's trying to get me taken off the air. That's not cool.
A few months back, we had a call at the station. Mm-hmm. And the programming director said, come here, I need to talk to you. I thought, oh boy, what did I do? He said, they want to replay the show that we did a couple weeks ago. So this gentleman watches it with his ailing mother. It's the highlight of their week.
Oh,
and
wow.
they would like us to show it again. I said, well, what are you asking me for?
Yeah.
Go for it. She said, oh my God, really? I said, that just was so touched by that.
Oh,
And I said, give me their number. I'll call them and talk to them.
I had somebody, and they sent me this like really heartfelt like letter online, and it was talking about how they watch my show with their grandkids, and it reminds them of a time long that their kids will never get to witness again, and because Saturday morning cartoons are a thing of the past,
Isn't that the truth?
and then I bring something to them, and I was sitting there staring at this thing, and I'm like, I don't know what to write back. I was like, I feel like I need to give this guy some sort of big philosophical answer. And my kid just looks at me and goes, Dad, just tell him thank you. And that's what you're doing it for, is to bring, a little bit of, your lost childhood back. And I was like, I did that. And he's like, man, he goes, he goes, thank you for writing back. I appreciate it. I'm like, I'm appreciate the fact that you wrote me the letter to begin with. So, and it was like, I didn't know how to take it. And like, you're talking about, an ailing mother and stuff. I was like, that hits hard. That hits, that's tugs at the heartstrings, and to know that, you and other people are out there, still bringing, something that people remember fondly is so cool. And I can't say this enough. I do appreciate that for all the work that each and every one of you put in, especially you. 6 episodes. Jeez, I still can't wrap my head around that. That's a busy week. Whew. Hold on a second. Don't take this as anything. Is your daily life retired, or do you work a full time? Okay, I was gonna say, man, if you're working a full time job, you're gonna make me feel real bad.
Well, I was doing this before I was retired, so so yeah, they overlapped a bit.
Oh man, I'm lucky now because, like I said, I own my own business, so I make my own hours, kind of, but I still have to be at the shop, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then I got to do stuff here and my kids, and well, my kid, I have 4 kids, and 3 of them are adults, so. I do like to spend time.
Congratulations!
Thank you. They're I get to spend time with my kids whenever I can. I love them to death. They're I'm one of them guys that I never thought I'd say, oh, my kids are my best friends, but I'm not that bad. but my son Joe and me are like this. I mean, we do so much together. He came over today because we watched Star Trek, the new Star Trek show together, and then tomorrow we're gonna he's gonna get up early tomorrow morning so we can watch Obi-Wan Kenobi together, because that's that. And then like that, I've turned all my kids on the Horror Host too. So, oh man, oh man, looks like my internet is getting a little slow. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yep. So, but I'm going to get ready to let you go because I think I wasted enough of your time.
Oh, not at all. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you so much.
This is fun. And I'll tell you the same thing. I'm planning on trying to get. I think I'm gonna have to do this in 2 parts now because I've had so many people say they want to do this. I'm hoping to figure out how to do a live show with maybe 2 parts. So I'll do a part 1, part 2, different hosts, and maybe do a live roundtable with people able to call in or message, so we can talk to all the horror hosts together.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, it's in the early stages. Don't, because this may fall apart. But it's something I'm like, man. I was like, if I could turn, Joe Schmo over here in Pittsburgh onto you over here in Indiana, they can find you online because everybody's online now. And then I can hook up the people in Kentucky or in Tennessee with somebody from Michigan, and this way they can talk and they can ask questions. So that's the final goal for that. So, all right.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. One last time, where can we watch you again?
Okay, I am Gruesome Graves, the night manager and horror host at the Haunted Hotel. We are public access, Fort Wayne, Indiana. You can watch us here locally on Comcast, channel 57, FiOS, channel 27. We're also available on Roku, Apple TV Plus, and streaming over the Weird Wide Web. And the easiest way to find that would be to go to the Allen County Public Library.org website, click on the Explore tab, and find Access To. And you can also contact me on Facebook, haunted.hotel.56, or email me at hauntedhotel@comcast.net. You have questions, you have requests, love to hear them all. And like I said, beware the scare, my children of the grave. Creep it real and rest in peace.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate this. I do. And I'll post. I'll put all your information at the end of the episode. This one is probably a few weeks out because I'm trying to get a bunch of these episodes stockpiled so I can take a break.
I know how that feels.
I never thought. I was like, I'm doing 4 this week, and I'm still doing my other 2 shows. And my wife's like, when are you doing them? I'm like, I'm doing them at night when everybody else is asleep in the house. So. But thank you very much. And like I said, I'll put your information up, and I will message you on Facebook and tell you when your show's getting ready to drop. Okay.
It sounds wonderful. I'm honored.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
I appreciate you being on. So take care and have a good night and a pleasant weekend.
Well, you too.
See ya.
Right.
Bye.